Ukraine is striking at the most vulnerable spot of the Russian economy, the oil refineries. Ukrainian long-range drones have disabled the Kuibyshev and Afipsky oil refineries. The oil refineries are located in the Samara region and in Krasnodar Krai. Drones have already struck these refineries before because the Russians use them to support their war machine with money and fuel. In August alone, Ukraine attacked a dozen Russian oil refineries. According to the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Robert Madyar Brovdy, together with the current attacks, fuel production in the aggressor country has decreased by 21%. Against the backdrop of Ukrainian strikes on oil refineries, Russia extended the ban on gasoline exports, which was supposed to expire in September. This past summer, gasoline prices in the aggressor country have reached truly unprecedented record highs, and several regions across Russia are currently experiencing significant fuel shortages.
And once again, 2 oil refineries in Russia are burning, so the enemy is running out of fuel. This is the work of the Unmanned Systems Forces and the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The General Staff reported that last night the Krasnodar oil refinery was hit. This plant produces 3 million tons of petroleum products per year. Gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, all of this supplies the Russian armed forces. Numerous explosions and a fire were recorded at this facility, and the Syzran oil refinery in the Samara region was hit again. Its capacity is over 8 million tons of fuel per year. This refinery is also on fire. With such strikes, the defense forces not only undermine the enemy's offensive potential, but also weaken the economy of the aggressor country. Ukraine's defense forces have successfully pushed the enemy back in 2 key settlements in the Kupiansk and Pokrovsk directions. This is according to analysts from Deep State. According to their data, this concerns the villages of Mirov and Novoselivka. However, at the same time, the Russians have advanced in 2 other villages in the Donetsk region. And now, Deep State reports they have scaled up the practice of using special anti-thermal imaging cloaks. Using these cloaks at night, they infiltrate through the tree lines past the front line into the rear of the defense forces' positions. At the same time, analysts add that this is precisely the current objective of the enemy. Not to engage in direct combat on the front line, but to search for the positions of drone operators or mortar crews in the rear and only then open fire. In total, since the beginning of the day, 104 clashes have been recorded on the front. The Russians are not giving up attempts to advance as much as possible in the Donetsk region, particularly in the Pokrovsk, Novopavlivka and Lyman sectors. Over the past day, Ukrainian defense forces managed to eliminate 850 occupiers, as well as 6 tanks and 50 enemy artillery systems. Covered in greenery, yet scarred all over by Russian shells. The Telegram channel My Pokrovsk published drone footage showing what the city in Donbass now looks like. A city the armed forces of Ukraine have been fighting for not just this year, and one the occupiers dream of capturing. The footage shows that so far the heavy Russian shelling has not managed to turn Pokrovsk into complete ruins. There are many trees, but at least all the apartment buildings in the video are without windows. Some are missing sections of their walls, some entrances have been completely burned out, and in some places the roofs have been entirely destroyed. The day before, the president of Ukraine stated that it is precisely in the Pokrovsk direction where the Kremlin now maintains its most concentrated grouping, namely 100,000 occupiers. However, the Russians themselves are having trouble with their energy sector. They hadn't yet managed to extinguish all the oil refineries hit by Ukrainian drones when a major oil pipeline, the Ryazan-Moscow line, exploded in Russia, which supplied petroleum products to the Russian capital. This was reported by the publication Babel, citing intelligence sources. Photos of the explosion are also being shared by Asian social media communities. Local residents report that explosions were heard in the area of the village of Bozatkovo in the Ryazan railway district, after which large-scale fires broke out. This oil pipeline is one of the main sources supplying Moscow with fuel. A few years ago, this main pipeline was repurposed for pumping gasoline, which is supplied by the state company Transneft. It supplies the Russian army. According to intelligence, the transportation of petroleum products to Moscow is currently suspended for an indefinite period. What exactly caused the explosion on the oil pipeline is currently unknown.
A new day in the occupied territories began with explosions. In Crimea, drones attacked the occupiers' railway infrastructure. The key junction near Jankoy is out of operation. According to local media, a drone hit a substation, so for now, Russian logistics in that region are disrupted. And this is already the 2nd time this week. 5 days ago, a strike in Jankoy hit a train carrying fuel. Explosions also rang out last night near the occupied city of Makivka in Donetsk region. Local social media groups reported a drone attack. People filmed videos, openly commenting on the very significant scale of what they saw. The Russian Novatek plant on the Baltic Sea, which was attacked by drones on Ukraine's Independence Day on that particular day, has indeed now completely suspended its operations. Fires were seen on Sunday at several oil and gas industrial facilities in Russia at once. Numerous videos showing the massive fire at one of Novatek's terminals in the port of Ust-Luga spread across social media. This maritime terminal is one of the key logistics facilities on the Baltic Sea. From there, energy resources are exported via the so-called shadow fleet, bypassing sanctions. Aviation fuel, fuel oil and diesel, essential for refueling Russian military equipment, are also produced, or rather, were produced there. According to Reuters, Novatek could not withstand the strikes by Ukrainian drones. The complex shut down immediately on Sunday. At least one processing unit with a capacity of 3 million tons per year has been damaged. Meanwhile, at the Novoshakhtinsk oil refinery, the fire was only extinguished today. The plant burned for 5 days. Following the drone strike, a total of 6 storage tanks were completely destroyed by fire, according to recent Maxar satellite images, and 2 more were damaged. Overall, Reuters has calculated that Ukrainian attacks have already destroyed about 17% of Russia's oil refining capacity, meaning at least 10 plants have been seriously damaged. This has disrupted exports, caused fuel shortages, and as a result, slowed the occupiers' advance on the front line. There is no need to tell the Ukrainian president what to do. A diplomatic scandal has erupted between Hungary and Ukraine over the Druzhba oil pipeline. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha criticized Budapest on the social network X for its attacks on Kiev, saying, "You do not need to tell the Ukrainian president what to do or say or when to do it. He is the president of Ukraine, not of Hungary." Sybiha also called on Budapest to diversify its energy supplies and become independent from Moscow, as the rest of Europe has done. In recent days, the section of the Druzhba oil pipeline at the Russian-Belarusian border has been constantly targeted by Ukrainian forces disrupting fuel supplies to Hungary. The day before, the local Minister of Foreign Affairs, Petr Szijjártó, once again accused Kiev of attacking their energy infrastructure and specifically accused Volodymyr Zelensky of threatening Budapest on their national holiday. At the press conference, journalists asked the president of Ukraine whether he had gained more leverage over Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán after the strikes on the Druzhba oil pipeline and the appeal to US President Donald Trump, given that Budapest is blocking the opening of the first cluster of accession talks between Ukraine and the EU. And this is how Zelensky responded to the question about relations with Hungary.
Volodymyr Zelensky, we have always consistently supported the enduring friendship between Ukraine and Hungary. And now, at this critical juncture, the very existence of that cherished friendship profoundly depends on Hungary's current and future position regarding these significant matters.
Interpreter: Volodymyr Zelensky used Ukraine's national holiday to threaten Hungary. We firmly reject intimidation from the President of Ukraine. In recent days, Ukraine has carried out serious attacks on our energy supply. An attack on energy security is an attack on sovereignty.